Okay, folks, welcome to Thursday Night Stock Charts Live. So, you might see in the background here, I was out fishing today. Can everybody hear me all right? Just want to make sure my mic is working. I had a problem with it yesterday. Audio's okay? Hey, Franklin, good to see you. Let me make sure here. Testing. Yeah, mic. Okay, we're good. Thanks, Franklin. Appreciate that. All right, so today I was out fishing, and you can see here the big fish that I caught. I had a horrible day fishing today. Hi, Trish. How are you? Good to see you. Will, how you doing? It's very hot, man. Hot on Long Island. I was on the water today. Hot as a son of a gun. No breeze out there, no nothing. And I got shut out. I caught a sea robin. So I wanted to change the background, so I stole some guy's fish to make myself look like I did something today. I was shut out. Not a good day. All right. My daughter did well. My son did well. I caught a sea robin. And I think the guy was trying to hit me up for a tip because you know what? Because he knew I was disappointed. He goes, it's a rare northern sea robin. But when I pulled up, I knew he was BSing me. I pulled up northern sea robin, and the definition is, yes, northern sea robin, but also known as the common sea robin. So that was my day. But we had a good time. All right, so the markets sold off today. The NASDAQ 100, of course, closed up. What else is new? The blame went to the SCOTUS decision regarding the tax returns of President Trump, and also the polls. Biden came out with some ridiculous comments, and the markets were afraid of him becoming president, as they should. But you know, all I need to do is just take a look at gold, and gold was telling us that it had really nothing to do with Biden, because you get a Biden victory, and you're going to see gold just rip through the ceiling. Here are his comments. End shareholder capitalism. What else? Just nonsense. There's a ton of new spending. I think that if Biden gets in, you're going to see an initial surge in the market, and gold is just going to go flying until such time that he does put forward the tax hikes, and they are going to come. And, you know, gold may take it on the chin at some point in time, because the assumption is going to be, while they're raising taxes, what they'll do is they'll pay down the debt. No. No. That's not what's going to happen. You're going to see a welfare state, especially if the Republicans, as they should, lose the Senate because they're incompetent and corrupt. You're going to see spending the likes which you have never, ever seen. Think this is bad? We've seen nothing yet. It's going to be tax, spend, print. Gold is going to go through the roof. So gold today was down along with the rest of the market. It's an extended market. I don't believe that. I think that this was an excuse to take profits longer term. I don't think that this is going to knock the market off of its rally. Jedi, hi. Astrologer Ted White predicts Trump will be reelected. Well-respected astrologer. I think he's going to be reelected. I think that there are a lot of people that are just freaked out with what's going on in this country right now. And, you know, I don't think there's any alternative. I mean, especially if Biden skips the, there's a New York Times article that was floated that Biden should try to skip the debates unless, of course, the president were to agree to some ridiculous demands, releasing of their tax returns, have a panel of media pundits on hand right then and there to fact check him and call him out real time. It's just ridiculous stuff. Anything to get Biden not to have to debate, that's what they're going to do. So the polls are in favor of Biden at current. I don't believe them. I think that people are afraid to give their honest opinion, afraid of being canceled out. So losing their jobs for what? Speaking their mind? Why bother? Wait for the vote. Wait for voting day or election day, and vote with your secret ballot. Yeah, higher capital gains. I mean, that's an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. All right, so let's do as we normally do. What we normally do is go through the weekly charts. Then I have a bunch of member requests to go over, and if we have some time, we'll take some requests from our guests. So let's do this. Let's bring up the weekly charts, and I want to begin with the yield curve. And the yield curve is signaling that the economy is not well, as we all know, but it's also signaling that we are seeing a yield curve which is beginning to invert yet again, or near inversion. It's not steepening any longer, and that's technically good for stocks. The last thing that you want is the yield curve to steepen. That means yields are rising and debt is being properly valued. And right now it appears as though you're seeing yields drop. They cratered today, and that's good for stocks. Horrible for bank stocks. We stopped out of our bank stocks the day before yesterday. Thank God that we did, because they just keep falling. And yes, Will, thank you. Smash the like button. I always forget that. Always. Bonds, weekly chart. Huge breakout this week. This is the exact reason why we stopped out of the banks, because yields began to, bonds began to break out. Yields tanked, and not good for banks. So you don't want to own the banks. There will be a time. Now is not that time. It looks as though the TLT is going to finish the week higher. One day makes a big difference. I always say that every Thursday. One day makes a difference. But at current, this is one powerful chart. And we have an outside week, or a bullish engulfing, and add to that a bullish key reversal. Beautiful chart. It's going higher. The 10-year yield weekly basis. You know, we got long of the banks on speculation that we may have a higher low. We could still have a higher low. But at current, we have an outside reversal bar, a bearish engulfing of last week's move. In all probability, we're going lower on yields. I will say this, though. Let's bring up my annotated chart. All right, so we were watching Stokes and RSI, and RSI is still putting in a higher low. We may still get a higher low. Watch for a holding of the 20 mark on Stokes next week, because we could still be putting in a double bottom setup on yields, or the inverse being a double top on bond prices. So we'll keep an eye on it. If we see a positive correlation, meaning that yields are pulling back, yet Stokes aren't breaking down, RSI is holding support, then we're going to have to revisit the banks. But now is not the time. We'll wait till next week. Excuse me. Drop my pen. The tips. All-time highs this week. They're going higher. The dollar weekly chart. It's off the lows of the week, but not a chart that inspires a lot of confidence. Volume is poised to roll in very light. The Vix Volatility. This is a daily chart. Let's go to the weekly chart. Okay, so we're holding the 26 mark. We closed at 29.26. So the VIX is still very dangerous, very, very dangerous. Any read above 25 to me is potential crash territory. So I'm not predicting that right now. I think that they're going to push this market up higher, especially the NASDAQ 100. But the VIX, let's go to a daily chart. The VIX is very concerning. Spinning top formation today. Jury's out. Now, I took a look at this chart before I went live because I always look at the transports as a leading indicator. And the transports are a major concern, assuming that we close where we're at current or worse on the week. Come on. Here we go. You can see that we've spent the past several weeks flirting with the 9,400 mark, failing, rejection. And we could be seeing the beginning of a lower high again. So what I want to do here is just take my crayon out, get rid of this. Here is our primary resistance level. Here is our secondary. And all we'll be looking for now is a break of support. And this would be a tell. I mean, if the transports go, it's only going to be a matter of time before the Dow Industrials follow through, and then eventually the NASDAQ 100. But the transports, this chart is not looking good, but one day left to go. We have to see how we close out the week. So on Saturdays, I do the week ahead commentary where I send it out to members where we review the closing price action on a weekly basis. So basically what I'm doing right now, but with the full week's view. I mean, one day really does make a difference. That's why we need to go back to it on Saturdays, reevaluate, see how we closed out the week. How do we want to plan out the next week? We talk about our positions, watch stocks, etc. And that's on Saturdays. That goes out to members. So the transports are quite the concern. And volume is very high this week to the downside. Let's watch for a break. Now, the Dow Industrials, very similar. It's a tale of two markets. You have old economy, you have new economy. So we'll do the same thing. Here is our primary upper band of resistance. Here is our secondary. And we don't want to trade this market on what may be. And what do I mean by that? It looks as though this market, looking at the Dow Transports, looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it looks like we are setting up for a double top. But we've been here before, right? We've attempted to short this market, and we're dead wrong. Why? It's because we're fighting the Federal Reserve. So should the market be where it is right now? No, of course not. But it is. And we can't divine what's going to happen next. If they drop the market, we begin to break support levels, especially if the NASDAQ 100 begins to break, then it's all over. But if we begin to break support levels, then we short the market. Can we speculate a bit, put on a few shares with a tight stop, whether it be the SQQQ or shorting the spiders? Sure. But I want to stay very, very small, pure speculation, because I'm not going to be the least bit surprised, despite how wrong it is, if we reverse and ultimately break out yet again on cheap money. It's just the game that we're playing right now. We need to be, I would love to sit here all night long and say, everybody, you got to pay attention to, where's my chart of how many times have I brought up this chart? We're overvalued by a mile. This is the S&P 500. A read above 20 PE-wise is overvalued. We are hyper overvalued, but nobody cares. Nobody cares until it matters. And right now, I have to be indifferent. Russell 2000, horrible week for the Russell. And again, we are setting up for a possible double top here on the Russell. I mean, this is absolutely disturbing. But if this market does begin to fall apart, if I were President Trump, I'd go out and say, listen, the polls, look it, this is the reason why the stock market's going down. You want to protect your 401k? Vote for me. So at current, the S&P 500 not looking good. The Russell 2000 not looking good. I'm sorry, not the Russell. The Dow Transports, the Russell not looking good. But it's too early to call it quits. Got to stay long the market at current. But that could change on a dime. Now here's where it gets. Here, take a look at these charts. Where's my Dow? Screw it. We'll use the transports. I could have said the same thing about the S&P 500 as what I just said about the Dow Jones and the transports last week. What happened this week? Here's that primary upper band of resistance. Here's the secondary. What do we do this week? Despite the fact that today was not a great day, we broke out. We broke out this week. One trading day left to go. That could change. But the S&P 500, not the trip Qs, mind you, but the S&P 500 has broken out above secondary resistance. Next stop, primary resistance. Now, had you shorted last week, you'd have a bloody nose right now. The banks I want to come back to. Let's talk about the trip queues. I mean, this is where the big short's going to be. This is a weekly chart. We're up another nearly 4% this week. On the year, we are up 50 million unemployed. We are up nearly 24% on the year. Think about it. Monthly view. I don't want to use this chart. Let's use, I want my 3D Bollingers. There we go. So here's the chart that we're watching. Because I've been around long enough to remember the dot-com bubble. That was right here. In fact, let's bring up the NDX, which is the NASDAQ 100. More data. Okay. So, for all intents and purposes, the trip queues. Now, huge parabolic move higher back in 2000. We're near there. We still have more upside to go here, believe it or not. There's more room to run. And just when you think that it can't go any higher and a parabolic blow off top, it does. Until one day, everything ends. Everything comes to an end. It just, the bottom falls out. There's a lot of denial, a tremendous amount of denial. And you saw that back here in 2000. We peaked out in March 2000. I was in the day before this happened. Well, actually, before it blew. The day we hit the all-time highs, I was in Times Square NASDAQ market site. I was selling puts against PMC Sierra and was making a killing. Crazy speculation we were doing. And that was the top. I was with my brother who was home from the Air Force. And that was the top. Bottom fell out. We put in the low in May of 2000, rallied back, higher, lower high, and that was it. Once we broke below the May lows here in October, November of 2000, that was it. Full-fledged bear market, done deal for the next couple of years. I think that this is what is setting up as the more likely scenario versus the financial crisis. This is far more the more likely scenario that we're going to see is a parabolic blow off top. And what's going to rope the Federal Reserve in is if we see rampant inflation, because the Federal Reserve has been able to print money at will because they don't have to admit that there's inflation. But what happens when you go to buy a dozen eggs and they cost $10 a dozen? I'm being flippant, but you're going to, at a certain point, you can't deny it anymore, right? It's here. It's reality. And if you take a look at corn prices, this doesn't look like a big move. This is a big move. Corn prices are breaking out. Big breakout. So you're seeing commodities, and not just ag names, here's the DBA, beginning to set up here very, very nicely. Inflation is taking a grip. And once it opens up and the bottom falls out from underneath the dollar, you're going to wake up one day, you're going to be like, what the heck just hit me? And that's why you need to own gold. You need to own gold. I'm getting long-winded here. So let's go through the rest of these charts. I know the people want me to go over symbols. The banks, you can't touch the banks. As long as bonds continue to rally, yields continue to drop, can't touch the banks. We stopped out, small loss, first out, best out. Adios, amigos. See you after earnings. Technology, what can you say? It's probably going higher. Volume. We're going to be talking about this quite a bit. Volume is dropping off dramatically. Let's bring up the trip queues again, weekly basis. We're poised to roll in higher on trip queue volume relative to the prior week, but still, volume has dropped down to pre-pandemic norms. It's not as abnormal as what it was. So we're going to continue to watch volume. You must have volume. People want to attribute dark pools this and volume doesn't matter anymore. Bullcrap. Volume matters. The semis. I mean, we spoke about a potential breakout last week. We got the breakout. I think I'm going over to Nvidia in a little while. That's one of the requests. Here's volume rolling in higher, but still, we're back down to pre-pandemic norms. Biotech's rock solid, looking good here. Emerging markets. I plan on, as we approach the election and we get a pullback in emerging markets, and I watch the dollar, I want to start in my longer term private portfolio is just dollar cost average out of US dollars and into emerging market funds, preferably with nothing to do with China, mainland China. So it could be Vietnam, the VNM. We've been talking about this. I mean, we've been talking about it for months now, and it's done very nicely. We got a pullback. Apparently, I should have bought that pullback. I was waiting for a bigger pullback. Didn't happen. BRZU, they're getting killed, pardon the pun, in Brazil. As a matter of fact, their president, Bolsonaro's, I believe his name is, he's been stricken with it. And Brazil is up on the week. We booked profits on Brazil. And looks like it's time to get back in. So these are the names that we're looking at. Might it be India? Sure. Malaysia? Spelled that wrong. All right. No. Okay, good. I typed in a symbol. I didn't even realize it. Look at India in Fuego. And this is in the face of turmoil with the Chinese. India doing very, very well. This is where I want to start putting money now. With the dollar's value now, I want to start putting money into these emerging markets and taking it out of the U.S. The U.S. is, until we resolve whatever social issues that we have right now, and I don't think it's going to be fixed for a long, long time. This is not a healthy environment to invest in. Energy, horrible, horrible, horrible. We're down over 7 3/4 on the week. I thought that going into the week, the Buffett news, him buying some nat gas plays would help energy. It did not. Zero influence. And this is a tell. What's the market telling you at current about the United States of America? It's bad. It's bad. You need energy. If we had an organically growing economy to support this, And now my chart won't load. Embarrassing me. Very nice. Only when I'm live. Only when I'm live. Okay. Okay. Now I'm humiliated. All right. Anyway. My chart just went blank. Uranium. Christ. Uranium we started buying this week. It's pulled back off the highs of the week. But again, this is where money's flowing now. It's in the nascent stages, emerging markets, precious metals, agriculture. You're going to look back 2 years from now and you're going to say, my God, what an opportunity. The time is now. So and I've been talking like this for a while now. I've been talking about gold stocks, gold miners since Q4 2015, and they are ripping. Gold is at an 8-year high. The gold mining index hit a high not seen since 2013 yesterday. This is where the bull market is. Organic bull market, not this nonsense of cheap money chasing high beta plays. Of course I can, Trish. I'm investing. Well, you're investing in Europe since they were able to quarantine properly and are able to get back to work. Yeah, they're doing better than us, aren't they? Okay. Let's exit here. And we'll bring up our friends over at TrendSpider. This is where I pay the bills. This is how I change the background. Nobody shows you this stuff. All right, this segment's brought to you by TrendSpider, the next generation in automated technical analysis. Why do I love it? This. No support and resistance levels. Automatically, resistance levels. You got to love it. Seriously, it's a great product. I use it for all my scans. Great scanning tools. Excuse me. I meant to say alerts. They do have scanning tools as well. And there's a 35% discount code below. Use the link. Use the discount code. You're not going to get a bigger discount on the internet because I do so much business with them. Trish wants FCX. FCX. All right, Freeport-McMoRan. This is a materials play. A very, very, very good company. And at current, the only negative I have to say about Freeport is that you have resistance immediately above. However, you know, what they mine, I think they do a lot of copper, but they also do gold. I would fact check me on that. We have a resistance immediately above here on a monthly basis. The Stokes are looking really, really nice. Double bottom setup, higher lows. So I think the play here, were I long, I would stay long. I think that longer term, the only problem for Freeport, and I believe they're an Australian company, no? I believe, Trish, can you confirm that for me? I believe they are an Australian company, and right now Australia is in a big to-do with the Chinese, and the Chinese account for about a third of Australian exports. Weekly chart. Weekly chart we have broken out, but again, you know, let's overlay on a weekly chart. monthly resistance levels in dashed line. And you can see that while we've broken out on a weekly basis, RL, Eve, Bob, and all, this is your time off? Yeah. Yeah. I'm a workaholic. Oh, so Trish, because it's a copper play, you like it. Interesting. Interesting. So you're global macro bullish. Like your style. Interesting. All right, so I think where I'm looking to get long of Freeport, I think the play here is this. Is that where I long, I'd stay long. I wouldn't add here. What I would do is I would wait for a pullback here to weekly support next week. Okay. I haven't checked copper this week. We'll bring it up in a moment. Cool. Okay. So this is the best risk-reward way to enter this. And if you're looking for a stop loss point, it's very simple. If we break back down below this weekly support level, let's call it 1190 per share, that's where you stop out at. So you wait for the pullback, buy its support at around, let's call it $12, 12.15. Keep a tight stop. We close back down into this trading range. You just stop out. Stay small. Small loss. Live to play another day. Daily chart. Yeah, you could see a lot of trepidation here. Again, this is monthly resistance in red. We're stalling here. I would wait for the pullback. Let's bring up copper. Now, the reason why I don't doubt that copper could move higher is that what I think is going to happen is that the Chinese have shot themselves in the foot. And you're going to see India, boom. Vietnam, boom. Malaysia, boom. Brazil, boom. Why? It's because they're not China. Countries are going to want to divest out of China, moving supply chains elsewhere. And it'll probably be required by law at some point. So copper, to Trish's point, is on a tear. And I think it's on speculation that you're going to have, as you did back in the late 2000s, a big rally in steel, a big rally in copper, because you had the build out of China. Now you're going to see other economies get built out as well. I don't think this is a story about America. I think this is a story about, again, as I spoke about earlier, emerging markets. This is a great emerging market play. I love it. Great story. This is a daily chart. Let's go to a monthly chart. How can you not like this? It's a bit extended, but it is en fuego. This is the real market signaling out. Traditionally, the markets are a forward-looking indicator, a forward-looking mechanism. And what is the market telling us about copper? What happened? That was weird. Okay. Copper is breaking out on a monthly basis. Its month is not over yet, but this is a huge, huge breakout. This is significant. So I'm loving the copper story. And this is not a United States story. if we were a United States story, you'd see names like Kansas City Southern breaking out as well. What's it doing? It's threatening to put in a lower high and break down. The copper story is not a U.S. story. It is an emerging market story. Here's EEM. Look at EEM in Fuego. Emerging markets, folks. That's the place to be. 2 years from now, you'll look back and say, my God, the guy was right. And this is the market sending us a signal. I'm not sure if there's a copper ETF. I think you're just good with Freeport McMoran. That could be, for all I know. So back to FCX, loving it. I would wait for the pullback to low 12s, and I would look to add there. I think it goes up a lot higher. NIO. Whew, Jesus Christ. Monthly chart, insane, can't be bought. Weekly chart, insane, can't be bought. I'd be booking profits here all day long. I mean, you're trading above the third standard deviation Bollinger Band. It's insane. I congratulations, ring the bell, book that profit, make it real. I would not initiate a new trade. And frankly, today's price action, with that just being said, I think it's going to go higher. But I need to sell this. This is you got to sell it. You know, this is a stock that is owned by day traders right now. And it's probably going up higher. I'm saying sell, it's going to go up higher. I know I'll be embarrassed tomorrow, but this will not end well. What's our RSI? We have RSI at nearly 88. It was above 90 only a couple of days ago. Be very, very careful here, folks. Got to sell it. It's probably going higher, but you got to sell it. I would not initiate a new trade. SRNE. I've known this stock. I've seen this stock before. Monthly chart, leaning into that third standard deviation Bollinger Band. Stokes look fantastic. Weekly chart. You know, back to the monthly chart. I can't not mention. I mean, this is a beautiful base from which it's breaking out of. You know, I think that given the size of this base, that we're probably going to pull back, maybe trade sideways, alleviate this overbought condition, and then it's going considerably higher. Weekly chart. We're trading at the highs of the week. Very nice. We've broken out on Stokes, daily chart. We're going higher. Beautiful price action today. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking about that monthly chart. But I think it's a very good stock. Looks like it wants to go higher. I just need to concern myself about that monthly chart. Me personally, I have to wait for a pullback. $7 per share looks really good for an extreme pullback. The low sixes, and this can be bought. I'm not sure if they're a COVID play. I'm not familiar with that. Nvidia. Maybe somebody else could answer that. Nvidia, it's right at resistance. And you may be saying it's at an all-time high. How is it resistance? What TrendSpider does, it extrapolates out prior highs, forecasting where you're going to get selling. So I'd be looking to sell these shares. It's had a great run. Weekly chart. It looks as though it's going to go higher. Trailing stop loss order looks like the best path to take here rather than just selling shares. Maybe scale out half position, let the rest run with a trailing stop. Let's overlay monthly resistance onto a daily chart. We're right there. Can it go parabolic? Sure. But the best tool to use is a trailing stop loss order in that environment. Because that trailing stop allows you to get taken out as close to the highs of the blow off top as possible. LVGO, Livongo Health. Monthly chart, not a ton of data. Stocks on fire. Apparently, I've already gone over this chart in the past. It broke out here in June, late June, pulled back later in June, retested nice. Bam, continuation breakout. Beautiful. I think it has more upside. I think it's going to go higher. I would keep a trailing stop loss order in on it. Look to book profits at or around 126, 127 per share. Very nice. SPCE. We booked profits today on, I was going out on the boat, and I didn't want to, I thought about selling calls, and I may still, but we gapped up today above the third standard deviation Bollinger Band, and I'd like to see a pullback. Let's go to a monthly chart first. Weekly chart, the monthly chart is not helpful. All right, so nice breakout. Would love to see a pullback on market weakness to 1779 to around 1730 per share, and look to get back involved. The daily chart, again, it could head higher here, but, I just don't like owning stocks when they're trading above the third standard deviation Bollinger Band. Let's clean this up. I want to know when we hit support again. And we'll keep this active for a while. So I still like Virgin quite a bit. Great stock for selling covered calls on. What else do we have? We got about 10 minutes left. AMD. Well, you were short of AMD, right? And you covered that short, if memory serves. Yeah, man. Wise move. Get out. It looks like it wants to go higher. But the threat of this head and shoulders formation is still a potential, but nothing to trade off of. I've seen all too many head and shoulders setups that look perfect, just like this one, get negated. Weekly chart. At current, it appears as though we're going to break through one resistance level, possibly two, depending upon tomorrow's price action. Looks like it's going higher. Gotta like AMD. Boeing. Man, bad. What a horrible day. So yesterday, we had managed after on the 7th, we broke down below 179.35. Then we managed to recapture it yesterday. Today, wow. This is a real sign of weakness for Boeing. I would, on a new daily low, I think it's a potential short. I'm not going to short it, but I'd be looking to buy down here where I have my alerts set, 155 to 148.75 per share. I don't want to spend too much time on this chart because it's just not a pretty chart. I would avoid like the plague, and it's a possible short. SPAQ. Oh, nuts. This guy, what's to say? Congratulations to those who owned it or own it, but you got to get out. RSI is at 95, trading well above the 3D Bollinger Band. SPAQ. Jesus Christ. This is nuts. I think it's a short. If you could short it, I don't know if you can get the borrow. I'm sure the option price is very insane. I think it's a short. All day long. A short. Unless, of course, there's some risk or talk of a takeover, then I would avoid it. What else do we have here? Fastly. Missed that train. I haven't seen it, though. Oh, God, this thing. Man. I knew it was going higher. Beautiful breakout this week. I think it's going higher. Nothing not to like here. It's a perfect chart. Love it. I think it's going higher. Nothing more to say. Oh, it was a great down. It was downgraded, and it still went up. Love it. CDLX. Beautiful. Love this breakout here. We're going to have resistance above. We have a weekly breakout. I think that what we may get next week is a retest of that breakout point. And that would be a fantastic place to open up a new position or add to a position. Very nice. That assumes that we close above this resistance level by the end of business tomorrow. Daily chart. I think it may. Very, very nice. This is what you want to see. Indicators validating. Perfect. I think it goes higher. Love it. Very bullish. OPK. So far, we have a monthly breakout. Weekly breakout, but resistance above. Right at let's call it 435 per share. We'll keep this active. You can see it's come off the highs of the week. I think what's key here is that we close above 398 per share. If we fail to do so, it may come under some selling pressure. Now, we broke out yesterday. Today was a retest of the breakout point, and it held, and that's good. So the chart looks good, especially if we close above 398 tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then I would look to add to the position on a breakout and above, what, 435 per share. Blockchain. Hey, Blockchain, where you been? Hey, Bob, do you know for sure what's the overseas market hours? For what exchange? I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure whether what the hours are for those exchanges. And I think that is it. Is that it? I think that's it. Blockchain US. Can anyone answer that question? I don't know, RL. Sorry about that, man. All right, folks. With that, if I could ask you to please smash that like button. Thanks for joining me tonight. Subscribe to the channel. And everybody have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Be well.